So hello there. In the last video you would have seen the fretboard glued onto the neck of the bass, and really this video is all about preparing the fretboard, i.e. getting it flat, putting the compound radius on its surface, preparing the fretboard, and then subsequently putting all the frets in. So yeah, this video can be really summed up in one word: frets. So I hope you find it interesting. I'll show you what I've been up to. Right, so with the fretboard glued on, I'm now going to get it nice and level, flat, straight, etc. And I'll be sanding it, and I've put these pieces of packing underneath the neck to support it, so that as you're sanding you don't push the neck down, because if you do that you won't get the neck flat. You'll end up taking off too much at this end, too much of this at this end, and not enough in the middle. So yeah, that's the first step. Right, so that looks nice and true. So what I've got to do now is put the radius on it, the camber. So I'll be sanding the radius using these various radius blocks, a 12-inch radius up at the nut, going to a 16 at the end, and somewhere in the middle a 14, and that gives us this compound radius. And also at the same time I'll be checking that it's straight along its length. I'll also be measuring the height of the fretboard above the neck and the body to make sure that both edges are a consistent height. The fretboard is a consistent thickness either side. I'll start off with some 80 grit paper, then gradually work through finer, and of course, this being rosewood, I shall have a dust mask on, so no commentary really from this point onwards. Oh yes, and these white pencil lines that I put on here, they're really just as a visual aid. As you're sanding, you'll gradually see that the white marks will wear away until there's nothing there. And when there's no pencil marks there, you know that you're at that radius. Well, it's not night time. I'm just using that angle point to see if I can see any light between the surface of the fretboard and the edge of the straight edge. And obviously if there's a light, there's gaps, which means that the fretboard isn't flat, but that is looking pretty good. Yeah, I think I can say I'm happy with that. Yeah, that gives me an idea of the consistency of the radius too. Yes, I think all I've got to do now is give that a bit of a clean up with some 320 abrasive paper, and then it's ready for the dots, the mother of pearl precision markers. Right, so there we have the fretboard, beautifully prepared and ready for the frets. There's my fretting hammer, ball peen hammer, the end of that nicely polished, and I guess I've been using this hammer for about 30 years, fretting instruments, just fretting instruments, with absolutely no problem. So yeah, let's get on with that then. So you need the neck supported, and fret goes in. And snip the ends off. With the ends snipped off, I can then use the fret rocker to just to make sure that they're all down. A little bit of a wobble, so that one needs a bit of a another little bit of a bash there. Yeah, so just give that a little. Yeah, that's better. And then we go on to the next one and work away along like that all the way down. Yeah, good. So with the frets flush, I'll now put about a 45-degree bevel on the frets, and what I tend to do is just keep filing until I'm just clipping the edge of the fretboard, so it puts a kind of a softer edge on the edge of the fretboard there, makes it more comfortable for the player. So the ends of the frets have been dressed. I've just gone over each fret with this red crayon, and that's really as a quick visual indicator when you come to level the frets. Once you've seen that the red has been taken off on all the high points, you know that the frets are level, and I'll be using this piece of extruded square aluminium tube. I've got different grades of abrasive paper, but for the frets I'll be using this fine wet or dry paper. I'm happy with that. Now obviously what this levelling process does is leave little flats on the top of the fret wire, so you then restore that, you restore the curve of the fret wire with a fret file, so it goes over the top, and then you get your curve back onto the frets. But of course you've got to be careful not to take too much, otherwise you'll undo your levelling. So when you're doing this, you'll be able to see the fine marks that the abrasive on the levelling tool has made going in that direction, and then once you've got rid of all of those marks with the fret file by going across, you know that you're done with that particular fret, if that makes sense. Right, so now I'm just going to just round off the ends of the frets. Well, not round off really, just take off any sharpness, so obviously when you run your fingers along the edge of the fretboard you don't feel it. Nothing worse than having frets sticking out in your fingers, is there? Right, so just need some very fine wet or dry paper on the ends of those frets, and once I've done the ends I'll use the same paper and go across the frets, and then working through various abrasive pads and ending up with quadruple zero wire wool, get all the frets nicely polished. Oh, and there we have it, one lovely fretboard. Well, first of all, congratulations if you've reached the end of this video and you've watched it all of the way. Probably the whole fretboard business is really only of interest to people who are starting out making instruments. But there you go, that's the process that I use. So with all of the frets in, the next job for me is to shape the neck, and I'll tell you all about that in the next video. So until then, you take care. Cheers.